Junction 2.0 YouTube channel. This is SAURABH guys, and we are here again. Special series on net English aspirants, especially we know that after a few days we have our exams. So it is an MCQ series on literary theory and criticism. This is lecture 2, mission 1, March 2023. This is what I have called it. And considering that we have our exams just in a very short span of time, we have got some very important questions for you to cover. So let's start without any further delay. So the question number one is, who wrote the use of poetry and the use of criticism? Okay, so this is not these are not the two titles. You can just put the inverted comma here and remove. You can just remove it. So the use of poetry and the use of criticism is the one title, and this is written by T.S. Eliot in the year published in 1933. Very important work, guys. It's a series of 8 lectures, and according to T.S. Eliot, he considers this as the most important work of his criticism. In fact, he compares this work to tradition and individual talent, and openly and quite frankly admits that a tradition and individual talent was much immature in nature as compared to this work, right? So it's a very important question in this series. Now let's move on to the next question. The term cultural materialism, yes guys, a very important term, was made current in 1985, and it was used by Dollimore and Alan Sinfield. You can just remember these two names, Dollimore and Sinfield, as the subtitle of their edited collection of essays. What was the name of the essay? Very important work, guys. Political Shakespeare. Okay, so Political Shakespeare is a work which was published in 1985 and is called as the foundation of cultural materialism. Okay, although cultural materialism is a term which is quite common in, you can say, in Britain, and the American equivalent of it is New Historicism, right? So, cultural materialism, we have got the major writer here as Raymond Williams, okay, who comes under culture studies also, right? Okay, so next question is principles of literary criticism and practical criticism. Very important question, guys. It was written by I.A. Richards. Okay, I.A. Richards especially published practical criticism in the year 1929, which is also coincidentally the year of the Great Economic Depression of America, right? The generation of 1920s, if you remember, Beat generation. Okay, so the Great Economic Crisis of America occurred in the same year. So, guys, I.A. Richards is known as also the critic who famously termed the wasteland as a music of ideas, right? I.A. Richards also comes under a very important group called as Cambridge School of Criticism. Okay, so it's a very important term for you to consider, and he is one of the important precursors of new criticism. Of course, he comes from England, right? So Philip Sidney's Apology for Poetry is a defense of poetry against the charges brought against to it by Stephen Gosson. Yes, guys, Stephen Gosson, in a very important work, Poetry of Abuses, basically criticized Philip Sidney's Apology for Poetry, and it is should be poetry, and basically the work resulted in this work. Okay, so this work, Stephen Gosson's work resulted this work. He also famously said that poetry is the mother of lies, if you remember. Who wrote the work, literary work, Anatomy of Criticism, right? Anatomy of Criticism was written by Northrop Frye. Okay, now guys, Northrop Frye is a Canadian critic, and he is also a mythological, or should I say, archetypal critic. Okay, from Canada, archetypal criticism, and here he compares the, you can say, literature into the four genres of literature with four, you can say, the four seasons. Okay, archetypal seasons. So very important work. He famously also gave the term the criticism as the donkey's carrot. Okay, literature and criticism as calling it as donkey's carrot. Very important term. Okay, all these are very important researches, guys. So next question we have got here, peripeteia. So peripeteia, the answer is B, change in the fortune of the hero from good to bad. If you remember, peripeteia is basically change in the fortune, and then there is anagnorisis, right? Anagnorisis, these are the two terms. Anagnorisis is discovery of the truth, and peripeteia is reversal of the fortune. चेंज की जगह आप रिवर्सल भी कह सकते हैं, रिवर्सल ऑफ फॉर्च्यून, राइट, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टर्म गाइस, ठीक है। चलिए आगे बढ़ जाते हैं। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज which of the following is not a major school of criticism? So very important term, it's instructive criticism is not a major school of criticism. Legislative criticism, we know Dryden comes to that type of criticism. Descriptive criticism, again Dryden and various other thinkers like romantic age thinkers. Aesthetic criticism, we know art for art's sake and the second half of 19th century. What is the meaning of the term anagnorisis as used by Aristotle in his theory of tragedy? Right. So as I have told you, the hero's recognition of his tragic flaw, recognition or discovery of truth, both are same, right? So let's move on. Who called Dryden as the father of English criticism? Very interesting question. So the answer to this criticism question is Dr. Johnson called him as father of English criticism. Dryden comes from the Restoration age. Who was the originator of the theory of imitation in literature? Okay, so the poetry is twice removed from reality. Theory of imitation was given in literature by Plato. Okay, and then of course we know that mimesis given by Aristotle further stressed it. So the question number 11 is who coined the term phrase objective correlative. Okay, so it's an important question. We know guys it is T.S. Eliot, objective correlative. Okay, that means using an objective medium to communicate the subjective thoughts. Okay, where he famously says that the mind of the poet is the shred of a platinum. Okay, so very important. The He gave the metaphor of a chemical reaction. Okay, moving on, next question is what is denouement? So guys, denouement is again a very important term which means the ending of a you can say, right, denouement is the ending of a tragedy. Okay, that is what you call the denouement. Okay, who coined the term new criticism? So new criticism, the term was coined by Spingarn. The term was coined by Spingarn. Okay, Spingarn, Spingarn. Spingarn. I am just correcting the spelling, guys. Spingarn. Okay, so that's the spelling. Okay, let's move on to the next question. From where the term Oedipus complex originated? So Oedipus complex, the term originated from the famous play Oedipus the Rex, written by Sophocles. Okay, Sophocles is one of the three great tragedians from Greek literature. We got इसका code क्या था? SEA. Sophocles, Euripides, and Aeschylus. Okay, these are the three great tragedians from the Greek literature. SHLS, right? So you can just remember them as SEA. Let's make an acronym over here, SEAC. Okay, so the great trio. Who coined the term intertextuality, guys? Very important question. The term intertextuality was coined by the Belgian critic, French Belgian critic Julia Kristeva. So what is intertextuality? Intertextuality is cross-referencing of different texts. That means when you start taking borrowing text from one place to another, in a way it's also called as illusion. Okay, very important term in deconstruction theory. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The term Electra complex has originated from a tragedy entitled Electra. Okay, who is the author of this tragedy? So very important question, guys. The answer is the author of the tragedy Electra is Sophocles. The author of the tragedy Electra is Sophocles. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Who coined the term defamiliarization? A very important question, guys. The term defamiliarization was coined by Viktor Shklovsky. A very important term in, you can say, Russian formalism. That means making literature look different from the common language. Okay, literariness, using literariness in literature. Okay, in which of the following works Plato dig causes his theory of Plato causes his theory of poetry? So it's a relatively easy question. The Republic. Okay, in Republic, famously he gave also the cave analogy. Okay. Next question is question number 19. Who coined the term deconstruction? Very interesting, very important question. So the term deconstruction was coined by, just give me a second. Guys, one correction here. The term deconstruction is not coined by any of these four options. It's coined by very famous French philosopher Jacques Derrida. Okay, in the 1960s, Jacques Derrida is one of the most important critics of the 20th century, founder of deconstruction, also known as applied post-structuralism. What does deconstruction mean? It means reading against the text. That means using text to self-introspect, self-reflect, because reality is absolutely without any center. So the concept of collective unconscious. So the concept of collective unconscious is associated with Carl Jung. Yes, Carl Jung, the disciple of Sigmund Freud, gave the term collective unconscious and relate related it to the whole consciousness, unconsciousness of the society as a whole. Okay, 21 is authors of the notorious book The School of Abuse. I have already explained it. Stephen Gosson, and he was from Elizabethan age. Guys, which critic is known for dialogic criticism? Now, dialogic criticism is important criticism. Bakhtin in Russian formalism comes under that. In dialogic criticism, the writer studies the literature as a site of struggle for the characters to give their voices, which come from different strata of society. So in a way, it enhances the political kind of space for all characters. So in a way, it helps in the representation of marginalized character, which is the central idea of all the major theories. Let's look at question number 23. So formalistic criticism is related to the structure of. Now this is a very important question, guys, and the answer to this question is it's related to the structure of content. Okay, it's related to the structure of content. It is, it studies the form, but it is related to the structure of content. So it's a little bit tricky question. If you just go deep into the language, you will understand the trick lying there. So in The Death of the Author, the famous essay Death of the Author was written by the great Roland Barthes. We know that. Okay, the death of the author means the birth of the reader. An Elizabethan Puritan critic denounced the poet as father of lies, school of abuse, and caterpillars of commonwealth. So kind of repeated question, you can say, and the answer again is it's Stephen Gosson G. All right. So caterpillar of commonwealth also, this term was given by Gosson. Semiotics, very interesting question, guys. So semiotics is the study of science, right? And let's move on to question number 27. Who proposed that poets should be banished from the ideal republic? Of course, it was Plato, who's known as the founder of Western criticism. Very important work written by Plato, Republic. Okay. Who was the first literary critic that a poetry or art is twice removed from reality? Again, the answer is, you can say, Plato, who is the author of the work Symposium. ओके, तो सिंपोजियम के ऑथर भी प्लेटो हैं. ठीक है, तो इस क्वेश्चन में आप देख रहे हैं सीक्वेंस में पूछा गया है हु इज द ऑथर ऑफ आर्स पोएटिका, गाइस. सो दैट इज होरेस. ठीक है, लॉन्जाइनस एंड होरेस, यू नो, they both come from Roman field and Roman country, Rome. And Horace is known for Ars Poetica, which is known as the first epistolary work in European criticism. Okay, it is written to as letter to Pisa. Okay, and epistolary work. So that means it's written in the form of letters. And most importantly, this work is actually a treatise in heroic couplet. And then one more important point about this work is that this was the first work which actually truly founded this base that literature should not only be for, you can say, morality. Literature should also be used for pleasure. So this is the first work which coined this famous kind of theory that literature should be for teaching as well as delight, which was later on repeated by Philip Sidney in his works. So, guys, this is it from me, Saurabh Preti. Hope you liked this series, and let's continue to add on to our YouTube channel. And if you like it, please do like, share, and subscribe, and press the bell icon button so that you can continue to get all the latest updates which you are going to get in plenty in the coming days. Thank you so much.